Hey guys, we're back again with another episode with actor and stunt coordinator, stunt everything, Mr. Sala Baker. Is that how you say it? Sala?
Yes, Sala Baker.
Sala
How you
Baker.
doing, everyone?
Doing good, man. So if you like this episode, make sure you follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, everywhere. Every other podcast applications will be in there. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate it. And let's get into it. Let's get into it, Mr.
Cool.
Sala Baker. How's it going, man?
Yes.
How's everything going?
Yeah, life is good. Adjusting to this new world we're all in together and trying to figure out how we can all stay busy and creative with the time we all have right now. So good, but it's just interesting how we're all trying to navigate this craziness of the so-called normality of what we're in right now.
Yeah. How's do you want to tell people a little bit about yourself that don't know who you are?
Yeah, I am a artist from New Zealand. I started doing stunts on Lord of the Rings. I focused on my career to constantly keep learning from every project I do. I do stunts, acting, voiceovers. I do the whole spectrum as an artist and painter, photographer. And I love working. I've traveled the world working on, 150 plus movies and TV shows over the years, and had a great time and constantly learning. So,
How's it been this year with the COVID? Have you guys been working more, or how is the workflow going?
Well, the film industry shut down. I was on a TV show in March, the second week of March, and on my last day, they actually shut it down. So it's been very interesting. The studios haven't been functioning, and so there's really been no work for myself and lots of other actors and performers out there trying to further their career. But again, I think everyone, not just in the film industry, but everyone in every industry has been shut down for a few months. So we've been all trying to figure out what to do and how to do it, and how do we move forth with this new world we're all in together. So it's been interesting, but good, because we have to figure out how to navigate and create in this different aspect of, especially now that we're all Zooming together now, So it's very different, because I'm a very personable, I love touching people. I'm a hugger, I'm a high fiver. I love being around people. And so now it's been very awkward, because we went from hugging and high fiving and touching people to just like wearing a mask and like just turning our faces and being, divisive. In a world where we're all kind of gotten sensitive, because we can't even look at someone anymore without going, I can't talk to them, or I can't be 6 feet with them. And so now it's like a different mindset that we have to try and figure out together.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome, man. You want to tell us a little bit about your journey? As you said, you started in 2001, right, with the Lord of the Rings. Is that your first?
No, actually, I started actually August 1999. I was in New Zealand, and there was a production called Lord of the Rings that arrived in New Zealand, and I'd heard of the books. I'd never really read them. I was a Trekkie fan and a Dungeons and Dragons nerd. So, and I was into Marvel Comics and DC Comics back in the day. So it was just a different world. But then a friend of mine who was he's a close friend of mine that we all kind of hung out in our apartment in New Zealand, had basically convinced me to go to an audition. Took 4 hours to convince me to go to audition for Lord of the Rings as an extra. And I was like, nah, dude, I didn't want to do it. And later on I was like, okay, fine, we'll go. And I auditioned for Lord of the Rings. and as an extra, and went in three other times. And on the third time I went in, they said, "You're great. Have you ever thought about stunts?" And I was like, "What's that?" So they were like, "Oh, you should try out for the stunt team. I think you'd be great." And I was like, "Okay, sure. Tell me where and when." So she gave me the information to audition as a stuntman on Lord of the Rings, and it was a 4.5 hour audition. Where you had to do fitness for the first hour, and then you had to do high falls, not high falls, but like off the top of a roof, which was, I think, about 15 feet maybe, onto a pad, and you had to put fights together, and you had to work with others. And after that audition, I thought I was done, because when I did the whole audition, I did great up until the last second, where I had to put together a fight scene in 5 minutes and show it in front of everyone. I did my fight, went to do it in front of the whole team, and we started the fight scene. My partner had punched me in the face, and he was like, "Oh no, dude!" And my nose started bleeding a little bit, and I was like, "Dude, keep going, man, keep going." He was like, "Oh, but your nose is bleeding," and I'm like, "Who cares, dude? Everyone's watching. Just keep going." And he just basically froze, and I was like, damn it, my chances are over. And the guys came up and tapped me on the shoulder and were like, "Dude, it's all good, bro. It's all good. Don't worry about it. You'll be fine." And I was like, "No, I'm not gonna be." I didn't say that, but in my head I was like, "Man, this guy ruined my chances." And so I walked out of the audition on a Thursday, and they were announcing the following Monday. Well, at the time, I was working as a bouncer in the nightclubs in New Zealand, in Wellington, and a couple of the stuntmen from the audition, they were auditioning everyone, came into my bar. I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, time to get them drunk. Time to get them drunk." And then one of the guys that was really nice to me, Andrew Stalline, he was the one that came up to me and goes, "Dude, it's all right. You're all good. You'll be fine." He came that night, and he basically kind of, I inadvertently was like, "Dude, come on, man. You got to tell me, dude. Did I make it or what?" He's like, "I can't really tell anyone. I really can't." I basically begged him like a beggar off the street. I was like, "Please, dude, please, I want to," and the hours went on in the night, and I made sure all those guys got shots and drinks on the house, and he finally kind of succumbed to my begging, like, because I wouldn't stop. I was like annoying him so much that he was like, "Okay, dude, you're fine," is what he said. I'm like, "What do you mean I'm fine?" He was like, "You're fine," and I was like, "Well, okay, whatever that means." Yes. So I didn't really know, but he just said, "You're fine. You'll be fine." And so I basically made sure they were all inebriated and drunk by the time they left that bar. And then I found out the following week that I was chosen to go and work on this giant movie, Lord of the Rings. And so I went in and met everyone and became part of the team. And then 19 months from that day, I was on full time, shooting 3 movies, 9 units all over New Zealand, and had a 19-month crash course school in the film industry. And basically, after those 19 months, I was like, "You know what? I might want to go to America."
Yeah.
I was like that Eddie Murphy. Is coming to America. And so I had a meeting. I'd then been cast as a couple of the Urukai that fights Vigo and fights Liv. I became one of the main Urukai guys with 5 other guys to fight all the lead actors, Orlando Bloom, Gimli, and all these characters, and became good friends with them all. And also one of the producers, executive producers, Mark Ordesky from New Line Cinema, and he had seen something in me. He was like, because on set one day, Peter Jackson had brought his daughter Katie, and she was young. I think she might have been 5 or 6, but because I had prosthetic on, she wasn't scared of me. She just loved me. And then the following week, I get a call from production saying, Peter Jackson wants you to come to his house. And I'm like, why? No, like, Katie wants to see you. And I was like, what? So I go to Peter Jackson's house to meet Katie, and I'm hanging out with the director and the family, and it's just like blew my mind. And then Michael Desky, one of the executive producers, says, we should have a chat. Are you available on the weekend? Let's go to this cafe and have a chat. So I went and had a chat with him, and he basically says, what do you want to do with your career? And I says, I want to be an actor. And he says to me, well, to be honest, I think you're wasted here because there's a lot of people like you here who are talented, but I would suggest you come to Los Angeles. And I was like, what? An American producer is telling me I should come to America. And so from that day onwards, it just boosted my confidence. And I was like, okay, fine. How do I do this? How do I figure this out? You know, and went along my journey of making that happen. And then I got an opportunity to go. New Line flew me over from New Zealand because I'd been from those times of being a stuntman, I ended up fighting a lot of the lead actors, and then they were recasting the role of Sauron, because the original Sauron was a guy who was helping to fabricate the suit of Sauron, and he was tall and skinny. He was like 6'5", 6'6", but he was really skinny, maybe 160 pounds, 170 pounds, maybe, at 6'6". But he wasn't really a performer. He was just a guy who knew how to do the suit. And so they said, who are we going to get to play Sauron? I got a call at midnight with an already 5 a.m. call to go to set saying, hey, can you come in tomorrow come in early tomorrow to work? And I said, I'm already coming in at 5 a.m. And they said, no, we want you to come in at 1:45. And I was like, that's in 2 hours. And they were like, yeah. And I said, why? And they says, because we want to refit you for the role of Sauron. And I says, I thought you guys already have one. And they says, not anymore. So then I went in and refabricated the suit, made one to fit, shot a rock video type audition to show them what I could do in the suit. Next thing you know, I was the new Sauron, Dark Lord, the evil Lord of Mordor.
Damn.
Then I got asked to go to Comic-Con San Diego. And that's when I got the taste of America. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm on a plane. I'm going to America. It was the whole Eddie Murphy thing. And I arrived in Comic-Con San Diego. Oh my gosh, blew my mind. People dressed up in costumes, outfits, manga, all sorts of movies and characters. And so then became my American kind of saga of like, oh, I'm going to go home. I'm going to pack everything up and to America. I'm moving to Los Angeles and kind of hustled my way around Los Angeles to do what I have done in the last 20 years here, almost 21 years now.
Wow. So you ended up playing the actual evil character of the whole series.
The Lord of the Rings. The Lord Sauron, who makes the one ring to overpower all of the rings.
Did you feel any pressure when they how it's got to be a lot of pressure from going from like stunt work to, hey, come here and play this character who's going to have a lot of impact in the film.
At the beginning, I wasn't really sure of it because the people were like, dude, oh my gosh, you're the Dark Lord Sauron. I was like, what does that mean? Because I wasn't really sure of it. But the cool thing was everyone was saying, dude, you're going to be signing autographs. You're going to be doing these things. You're going to go to the States. You're going to be this, that. And I was like, okay. But it only became really big was when I started shooting the scenes as Sauron with Peter Jackson, as the director, and he was like, one of the things I remember him saying to me was like, "You know who Darth Vader is, right?" And I says, "Yeah." And Peter Jackson says, "He is nothing to you. He is nothing to you. With this mace you have in your hand, you control the world." And just gave me all these great uh, uh, like words of encouragement, which made me kind of turn into this like, and then this thing happened to my body, and I was like, I am the Lord of the Rings. And then it kind of helped me get into the character and become this entity that is the Lord of the Rings. So it wasn't at the beginning a little bit stressful, but I was like, nah, dude, there's a reason why I'm here. There's a reason why I'm here, because I work hard and I will take any opportunity and make it the best for me. So, yeah.
That's crazy. That's awesome, man. And
Yeah.
that from there, when you moved to the U.S., was it harder to get? How was the actual switch from New Zealand to Los
Well,
Angeles?
it was difficult in the way that I knew nobody. I mean, not nobody. I knew Elijah Wood. I knew a bunch of the actors, Billy Boyd, Dominic Monaghan, and I'd hung out with those guys a lot and spent time with them in New Zealand. So when I came to the States, I hit them up and says, "Hey, I'm moving here," and they were like, "Oh, come and hang out over here. We're doing this." And so I became good friends with them. Now, what was hard was breaking into the industry here, but to me, I thought, well, everyone is doing this. Everyone who wants to be an actor, everyone who wants to be an artist and performer is doing this. So I went through times where I made $60 last 9 months.
Wow.
And the way I did that was, this is back in 2000, so it was a little bit different. You know, $60 was still $60, but you could get a little bit more for your buck back then. And so I went to the 99-cent store and I spent $24 on ramen noodles. And I got like 120 or 30 packets of ramen. And I ate half a packet a day with some spices, and spent, I think I spent $24 on getting headshots made. And literally, I walked around Hollywood and followed actors to auditions and wrote my name in, and just basically walked in on auditions, following people. I was like, oh, there's an actor, I'm going to follow them to that audition and just say I'm here for the same audition.
Oh my God.
And that's, now, I never got a job from any of those hustles, right? But to me, it taught me the ethics and the hard work it takes to have longevity here and to keep going. Because to me, I was like, you know what? Everyone's eating ramen and everyone's walking around with headshots. So what am I going to cry about? Everyone's doing it. Everyone's doing it here in Los Angeles. I'm no different to them. So just keep doing it. And I just went around and met people and just ended up seeing the same people in certain auditions, and just worked my way through meeting some stunt guys here that I ended up being friends with. And then our stunt coordinator from Lord of the Rings had loved us so much that he tried to bring 30 of us from New Zealand to go to do the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Because we weren't the most experienced stunt performers, but what he had said is that we had the most heart. Because everyone in Los Angeles there's so much work here that everyone's just like, oh, whatever, I'll just get another job. It's just, hey man, there's movies, TV shows everywhere. And when you get here, it's literally like that. Before COVID, there's TV shows shooting on almost every other street all over Los Angeles. And people get complacent with the amount of work. Oh, it's fine, there'll be something else around the corner. But we were hungry because Lord of the Rings was the biggest movie that ever came to New Zealand. And it still is. I mean, no, Avatar's there now too. But you know, he didn't end up getting 30 of us on there, but he managed to get 5 of us on there. So I was already here hustling around, and he says, perfect, I can get you to come and fly to Dominica and work on Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, when I went on that job, I was there for maybe 6 weeks. And I had met literally 60 to 70 American stunt performers. And they were all really talented and all really well known in the industry. And I was the New Zealand guy coming in to meet all these great performers who are now very huge and very famous in the stunt industry, who basically backed me to on most projects. They were like, oh, I worked with him on Pirates. He's really cool. He's a big guy. He can move really well. And I basically, you know, got everyone got a good sense of what I could do at my size, because I was, you know, probably 270 at the time, but I could move really well for a guy 6'2", 270. So it got around that I was just this big dude who moves really well and he could fight, doing fights on films. And it pushed me to meeting more people, because they were like, oh, I just met this guy from New Zealand, and people started putting me forward for jobs. And so that turned into people going, oh, wow, he can play a villain in these movies too. Oh, wait, he was the Dark Lord Sauron? Oh, okay, cool. He can come in and beat up this actress. Or I would rehearse and do fights with this actress. And that's what built me a career on playing villains in TV shows and movies and playing the bad guys throughout Hollywood. And so I made a name for myself for beating up actors in Los Angeles. And I've, you know, been very proud and very thankful for all the people that I've worked with that have put me forward for lots of other jobs, you know, because there's so many performers here that could do the job I did, but people put my name forward, and I went in with 100%, you know, passion to do this job. So,
did you have any experience in martial art before actually trying stunts?
My experience, to me, was watching all the martial arts movies in the 80s, watching Bruce Lee films, Jackie Chan films, and then my brothers were doing martial arts, Kempo. So I kind of trained a little bit with them. I never actually went to classes with them, but I trained with them, and I was good at mimicking. So I could mimic fights, I could do things, you know, until when I got on film and I learned how to do it properly on Lord of the Rings. So, like I said, my film school was the 19 months of shooting on Lord of the Rings with all 3 movies on the biggest film of all time. That was like my acting school, my drama school, my stunt school, and everything.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's it sets you up, and like you're ready after that to take anything on, because it's your first experience is one of the biggest movies of all times. You know what I mean?
Crazy. I'm just very thankful that I got the opportunity to be in there and learn the craft from all the best actors that were working on Lord of the Rings, and some great performers. And we had some American stunt people come over to work with us. So that kind of boosted our you know, experience into learning from American performers.
You said you beat up a lot of actors there. Which one would you say was the one you were that put up the good fight for the actual scene?
Oh, dude! I mean, there's so many people. I thought Denzel Washington. He's amazing. Ryan Reynolds. Sorry, Ryan Gosling.
Was your scene in the train there for Equalizer? Or what scene was it for you?
Well, I did 2 films with Denzel Washington. I did The Book of Eli and The Equalizer. And so there was a scene that I did with Denzel Washington in The Book of Eli, which was actually cut out because we didn't have enough time to shoot it. So he ends up just shooting me in the neck with the arrow after I'm fighting with Mila Kunis. And then I worked with him on The Equalizer, where I didn't really get to fight with him. He just goes around killing everyone one by one. But, but Russell Crowe. Oh my gosh, it's hard to even think about all these films that I've done. But I've had some. My most memorable ones are the ones that I was nominated for the Stunt Awards. Which was, I was nominated twice for the Tourist World Stunt Awards for Best Fight, and they were both with women, both of them. One with Jennifer Garner on The Kingdom, and recently on Mile 22 with Lauren Cohan. But it's to me it's like it's a dance that you have to make sure no one gets hurt. 1, 2, it looks believable, and 3, we make sure we can keep each other safe. Like that's the key. Is to with all these fights, they look brutal, but they're rehearsed so many times so that there's little room for mistakes, and so that we can keep doing the fight over and over again without anyone getting hurt. So those were like my most memorable, because I was nominated fighting with 2 really great actresses and stunt performers who doubled them. So that's the cool thing about me. You get a 2-for-1. I get to play the character and do the stunts. So it's a double whammy for me, because I get to work with these actors and help them bring forth a great fight that people think, 1, it looks real, 2, it doesn't look contrived, or it's like, oh, that would never happen, but that it looks rough and nasty and not like your typical, like everything's planned type of fight scenes. My fights are pretty brutal and real, and that's what I like to bring to the table with my action in films and television shows. So,
have you ever had to work up the courage to do a stunt? And is there any stunts that you refuse to do?
So here's the thing. In my career, I've been fortunate enough to work a lot. Now, my specialty is in fights. And that's why I've basically done fights with pretty much everyone in the industry. Now, there's some stunts that I definitely won't do, because 1, I've never trained to them. 2, that's just not my thing, because there are certain stunts that have people who are trained, who are specialized in doing car stuff, smashing cars, jumping cars, motorcycles, boats, trucks, wire work. I do wire work, but most of my stuff is pretty much fights. I do like some ND stunts, but some of the crazy stuff that I did in terms of stunt wise was on Lord of the Rings, was fighting Viggo Mortensen at Helm's Deep. Because if you look at that fight scene at Helm's Deep, when Viggo Mortensen's fighting all the Uruk-hai coming up the ladders, so those were real ladders that we put. Now, they weren't like 300 feet long, but they were probably like 45 feet, these ladders that they put up to the wall. Now, we had to make sure we start from the bottom, climb to the top, right, with all the Uruk-hai gear on, the chainmail, the armor, and all the prosthetics, climb 45 feet with the helmet on, fight Viggo Mortensen, get killed, do a high fall off that wall, land on the mat, get up and get out of the way while another guy is falling, and sometimes you would be on fire. So, and then it got to a point, we had a game with all the other stunt guys, was like, see who can get to fight Viggo as many times as you can before they yell cut. So I got to 6, climb the ladder once, fight him, come off, die 1, and then 2, 3, 4, fall off 5, and then 6, I finally came off, and they yelled cut. And so we would play games but it was pretty dangerous, because you fall off this wall of Helm's Deep, land, and you're stuck in these mats, and you got to wedge yourself out of the mats as you look up and another guy is falling. So you got to get your butt out of the way and then climb that giant ladder again to get to the top to fight Vigo again, and then fall off and do it again over and over again to keep the shot moving. So that was one of the craziest things for me, just because it was a high fall. Sometimes you would be on fire, and 3, there's another guy coming.
Yeah.
Seconds later. So because I don't really do crazy stunts. Like I would consider myself an action actor that can do some stunts, right? But there are people out there like Tom Cruise, dude. Tom Cruise does 99% of his own stunts. Motorcycle, cars. You see him hanging off a plane, on top of a train. Like that's him. Like I tell you now, he's a better stuntman than me by a long shot. By a long shot. You could call him a stuntman as well. I'm an action actor, but he's a stunt man.
Do we know if he used to do that back like in the 80s and 90s too? Or was it just something that he started like a few years ago?
No, he started doing it later on in his career. Because in the early days he had a bunch of stunt doubles, and he still does have stunt doubles now, but they mainly rehearse all the fight stuff and test it for him and let him know that it's okay. Oh, this is how you would do it. This is what I did. So it's best if you would try and do it like this. And he would rehearse it to himself and go, okay, I get it. Cool. He would ride the motorcycle in, slide it, get off the bike, shoot thing, get back on the bike and take off. So there's not many people like Tom Cruise out there who can do the action and acting and, all like literally all himself.
Yeah, his latest movies are insane as far as that goes.
Insane, dude. But that's a testament to his hard work and how much he dedicates to the craft and his job and his characters in his films. Because then, like, I don't know if there's another actor that does as much as he does. Because
I think Jackie Chan used to.
Well,
when he was younger, yeah.
Definitely Jackie Chan. But Jackie Chan never did the car stuff, the motorcycle stuff,
right?
The plane stuff. But
that stuff is like you have to know. You have to have a license to fly. Stuff like that. Yeah, there's a lot of work on that.
Absolutely. So I take my hat and my hair off for Tom Cruise because he's a badass.
Who's somebody who you haven't got a chance to actually work with in a fight that you want to?
Well, here's the thing. At the moment, there's a lot of people out there. But at the moment, I won't not do it. But at the moment, because I've played villains my entire career, I'm focusing on not playing villains. But if someone calls me to play a villain, I'll be like, sure, absolutely. But like in the last 5 years, I've worked on a bunch of short films as a therapist, as a friend, just as regular people instead of playing villains. And they're fun because then people get to see me playing different characters other than beating people up. Because I don't want to beat people up all the time. And, that's not the only thing I'm good at. That's just the thing that got me into the industry. And now I want to learn different avenues of the industry. So to act more and do comedy roles, because I love comedy, and maybe some more drama to show that I can work with other actors without beating them up or punching them in the face or throwing them against a wall,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm not going to do that anymore, but I'm just trying different roles to show my versatility and being a performer. But there's plenty of people I want to have a little. I'm not saying no, but there's a lot of great actors out there that I would love to play with in the industry.
Wouldn't it be amazing to fight Jackie Chan since he was one of your inspirations as far as that goes?
Well, that would be like...
That'd be a dream, wouldn't it?
Dude, oh my gosh.
If they started filming Rush Hour? Because that was something that you
Ah,
probably could get into that.
I don't know. You know, again, a lot of the productions haven't started in the United States or in California. There's a lot of film shooting in Europe, like Batman started shooting up soon. A buddy of mine is working on Batman in London, and they're shooting the new Matrix in Germany. They've already started that. They're shooting Jurassic Park in London, so and Avatar in New Zealand. So there's lots of productions starting up right now, but just nothing in the States at the moment because of the high cases of
California
COVID.
is still pretty much in the red zone, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's been pretty difficult with trying to work on films, but like when I worked in The Last Samurai in New Zealand, that's when I met Mike Kehoe,
Yeah.
that you guys know, because
Yeah.
Mike Kehoe was doing craft service out there, and such an awesome guy. Like, and we ended up shooting a spoof movie of all his favorite films. I'm not sure if you guys seen that, but then I found out then that he wanted to direct. So we shot this spoof video in the weekends while everyone had their time off, and we shot like this really cool segment of of a spoof movie that he did um, during the weekend while no one was working, and put it together and made this really cool movie. And I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome. In our spare time, even though we didn't have very many. And then I just shot a short film for him playing a character in his pitch for a pilot.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah. So that was really fun. And so the only projects that I've been working on recently are short films because there's not too many people in them. There's not many characters, and it's a very limited amount of crew.
It's smaller, like you don't spend a lot of time on it, right?
Yeah, and it was only 2 days, and
right.
Everyone was wearing masks. Everyone was 6 feet apart. We didn't have too many people in one place at one time. So we stuck to the COVID rules and had a great time. So that's the only thing I've been doing to stay creative, is to meet other people in creating films. And it was actually great to work with Mike Kehoe as a director, rather than leading our craft service on these giant movies and TV shows. Because once I worked with him on Last Samurai, I said, I'm coming to America. I've ended up working with him on all the biggest TV shows. Mandalorian just recently, a year ago, Marvel movies. I've seen him on like shows, and then we bumped into each other, and he was like, do you want to play another character in one of my movies? And I was like, sure. And so from that, I met this young kid on that show, and now he wants me to do another short film with him. So it's all about just being out there, being creative,
like
and
networking.
You
create a network and a connection, and
it
goes from there.
Because there's a lot of creative people in Los Angeles, and so if you can keep that moving and just be open to, look, I've been doing this for 21 years, and I still feel like I can keep on learning every day from a 20-year-old, like this kid who wrote and is directing his own pilot for a TV show pitch. He's 19 years old.
Wow.
And I'm like, dude, I was not doing that at 19, bro. But his dad's in the music industry. But again, I'll work with a 19-year-old because he's got passion. He's already got it planned out, and he's ready to do it. And I'm like, dude, I'm in. And he's a big Lord of the Rings fan, and he was like, I would love to have you a part of it and be in it and help me bring this thing to life. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna do it. And I'm willing to work with anyone who has the passion.
Right. But that's what at the end of the day, it's all about the art, right? You're trying to make it
absolutely
artistic and something to look at later on. But like, look what we did. This is something that everybody worked hard to accomplish, and it's like a painting. You're looking at painting. By the end of it, you're just looking at it like, this is what we just did.
It's amazing. Yeah. See what everyone's contributed to this end product. So I love it. I'm always willing to learn, and because I've done movies, TV shows, music videos, games, motion capture. Like I've done it all.
Have you done any motion capture for games or or anything like that?
Yeah, I ended up working on the Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, nice.
The
Actually, I've been
new
playing
Star
that.
Wars game. Yeah, I'm the leader of the Wookiees, Tarful.
That's awesome.
So
Did they do motion capture and voice, or just
yeah,
motion?
yeah,
So both.
yeah. So I ended up doing that, and I've worked on a bunch of games over the years, but that was the most recent one. And I also worked on Rogue Game Company, which is another kind of shoot 'em up game where you get a crew of people and run through the town and try and figure out and navigate through cities and stuff. So I've done a bunch of motion capture for games, as well as Lord of the Rings. I did 13 weeks of motion capture on Lord of the Rings as well.
Wow, that's crazy.
Over characters.
Any you said because me and Mike are big gamers, so I'm trying to geek out here. If there are any other big games that we can possibly know?
Not really. I did a game called Golden Axe about 5 or 6, maybe 10 years ago. It was about dwarfs running around and killing monsters. That was kind of pretty cool. But the main big games were the Jedi Fallen Order and.
Are you willing to do more if the opportunity comes up? Did you enjoy it?
Absolutely, it's fun because you get to work with so many different people and in the volume of motion capture, it's in its constant movement. It's performance based. So I love anything that has to do with performance and the art. So, and like I said, I'll do anything because I'll constantly learn from everyone and anyone I meet, whether you're 20 years old, whether you're 50 or 60 or whatever your age is. I'm going to learn something from everyone that I meet. And that's just what I love. Like, I love being on set. I love meeting people. Like, again, I love hugging people. I love high-fiving because it's well, to me, it's the exchanging of energy, right?
Yeah.
When you're excited about something to be on a show, we're like, dude, man, I'm so excited, and then it just transfers to someone else. They're like, oh, really? Oh, cool. Oh, let's all be excited, and and then the energy changes. So that's why I love the interaction with humans. And right now, it's been really tough doing that because everyone's a little bit standoffish and keeping their distance, which is, it's fair enough. It needs to happen, but it's just hard going from being a people person to just being trying to say hello under the mask, and all you can see is like a ninja, these eyes of people's ninja eyes.
Yeah.
So it's a crazy world, but you know what? If we're not adapting and adjusting to life, then we're just going to stay the same, So that's my 2 cents towards it all.
Yeah, man. It's definitely crazy. I mean, I think even New York is still down, right? They're not really doing much, even though the cases are down.
Mm-hmm. I just think no one really knows what to do with it. Like, even if you get on set because sets are normally 100 to 400 people, depending on the movie or TV show. So you get that many people together and one person gets sick, goodbye. and that can happen really easily, Some people don't know that.
Wasn't Tom Hanks? Didn't he have it like one of the first people?
Yeah, he had it, and he was stuck in Australia.
Yeah, they ended up shutting down the actual film, didn't they?
I believe so. He was out there for a while, and he ended up being quarantined, and now he's fine. But it happened. It can even happen to the man. Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
The father of film and television. Tom Hanks. So.
The good guy of
yeah.
Always plays the good guy.
Yeah, always plays a good guy. But it can happen to anyone. So we all just got to be safe out there and keep our distance. But it's hard for me because I just want to hug everyone. I'm like, ah. So that's why I focus on staying healthy and boosting my immune system and eating good foods and focusing on my health so
What
that I
was your
don't get
favorite?
it.
What was your favorite shoot throughout the years? What was your favorite besides Lord of the Rings? I'm sure that was special to
Dude,
actual.
it's hard to beat Lord of the Rings, but
Yeah,
I've
but
worked
beside
on
that
some.
one, which one would be your favorite?
Well, one of them was Deadpool 2,
Yeah.
playing the older version of Fire Fist. And it happened on my birthday. So I was like so happy. I was a Marvel superhero character. I met the kid, Julian Dennison, who's from New Zealand, who's a Kiwi.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah.
and
He's a good dude.
dude, he's a good dude, man. He's a talented young kid. And I ended up meeting him and working with the director, Dave Leach, who is originally a stuntman. So I've known Dave for 21 years. Well, no, maybe 16 years. But, you know, he called me up and says, hey, you want to come and do a day on my movie? And I was like, yes, 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 absolutely yes. He was like, it's only a day. I'm like, I don't care. You're directing a movie? I will do it, yes. And so I met you know, I went on set and met Julian, and I'd already met Julian earlier, but we were in the makeup chair, and I was getting my makeup done by the makeup artist Anne, and Julian was in his seat, a couple seats down in the makeup chair, and I'm telling my makeup artist Anne about my twin brother. I'm like, oh yeah, my twin brother, his name is Saya, and Julian is like, what? I'm like, what? He's like, you have a twin brother? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, that's weird. And I go, why? And he goes, my stand in is a twin, and I'm a twin. I'm like, what? So your stand in is a twin, you're a twin, and your future Fire Fist, older Fire Fist is a twin? I was like, yeah. And I was like, that is crazy.
I mean, that's why he called you up.
I don't know, but it was just so serendipitous. I was like, wow, that's pretty dope. That's pretty awesome. So it's just weird how life happens and you end up with these crazy stories. I'm like, that's pretty amazing.
That you end up. Who was in the scene with you then? I can't remember. I'm trying to remember that
It
scene.
was just the woman that played Josh Brolin's wife and his daughter, because I end up killing
Killing them.
them.
Yeah, yeah. Spoiler alert.
I
Yeah.
burn them with my hands, my Fire Fist hands.
I remember that. Wasn't that in the beginning of the film, right? Or did they have showed it in the end again?
No, it was towards the middle of the film.
The middle. Okay.
Yeah, because you don't find out. I mean, because everyone's wondering why Josh Brolin's trying to kill this young kid. He's like, I need to kill him now. And then towards the middle of the movie, you find out why. Because he flashes forward and he sees that he's going to end up losing his wife in the future. So that's why he tries to kill him as a young teenager before.
Did you end up meeting or seeing Ryan Reynolds at all, or any of them there? Any of the
Not
big
on
actors?
set, but I saw him in the by the trailers and getting my makeup done. And cool guy. Never really got to talk to him or hang out with him, but everyone says he's hilarious. And Ryan Reynolds, man, that guy is so hilarious.
Yeah.
You see on his social media and the videos out there, he's hilarious. So
do you ever geek out when you see certain actors that you admired in the past, and just go and try to have a conversation with them, or have any stories like that?
Look, everyone is a fan, even actors, because it doesn't matter what actor is an actor. When they were a kid, they watched a movie, they were like, oh my gosh, that's that person. So I'm always a fanboy, but I'm always a fanboy of older films and older actors. But I was spoiled by working on Lord of the Rings because I got to meet Ian McKellen and Christopher Lee. I was like, oh my gosh, dude. These are actors that I looked up to. And obviously Viggo Mortensen and Sean Bean. And I'd seen Liv Tyler and Armageddon. And, it's hard because being a little bit fanboy at the beginning, once you end up working with them, they're just as normal as you. Like,
Yeah.
they're just humans who happen to get this fame because of their job. But other than that, they're just really nice humans. Now, some people are out there that you meet have bad days and get bad, press about, oh, they're not very nice, and I used to go, oh, he wasn't very nice, man. He was a bit of a, a not very nice person. But then I started thinking later on in my career, I was like, you know what? Everyone has a bad day.
Right.
Life hits us in the face and in the feet, and we fall over, and sometimes we don't feel as good or happy that day. So it's just everyone's going through life however way they go through it. So to me, everyone is nice, and I do geek out a bit, but then when I start talking to them, it's just they're just like any one of us being fans. It's just that they've been on certain sets more than others, so they're more comfortable in the seat. But one time I got really starstruck. I was at Bob Shaye's house, and it was when Lord of the Rings was nominated for 11 Oscars, and we won 11 Oscars. And I ended up going to the studio head, Bob Shaye's house, and that was when every actor was there. Pierce Brosnan, The Rock, before The Rock was big, Haley Joel Osment, the kid from Pay It Forward, like everyone was there. But when I saw Steven Tyler, I was like, oh, shucks. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go up to him. I'm going to go up to him. I'm going to go up to him, dude. I'm going to go up to him. And I walk up to him and I go, excuse me, Mr. Tyler. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just got to say, my name is Sala, and I'm a huge fan of your music, and I love you, and you're the man. And he was like, are you my daughter's friend, Sala? And I go, what? Who? And he was like, Liv. Are you my daughter's friend, Sala? And I go, oh, yeah. He was like, dude, I know who you are. You're awesome. And I was like, oh, my God, Steven Tyler knows who I am. And that was my big geek out moment. Like, because I was also a fan of Pierce Brosnan, because he was there from Remington Steele back in the day and watching in New Zealand. But when I saw Steven Tyler, dude, I was freaking out. And it freaked me out even more because he knew who I was.
Yeah.
Because
that's a great feeling.
Oh, dude, it was just like this whole rush just came over my body going, he knows who I am. That is weird. But because I'd hung out with a lot, because the stunt people who work with a lot of the actors, there's a big rapport because we end up training them all the time. We rehearse with them all the time. We're on set with them all the time. And then we end up going out to hang out with them all the time. So and especially in New Zealand, and because I was big, they loved me being around because I was fun, but also I could be their bodyguard. And I was like, hell yeah, cool, no worries. So I got to know Liv really well and the rest of the cast. So it just helped me out later on meeting her dad. And I was like, oh yeah, this is cool. This is cool. So absolutely, I fanboy out for sure.
What do you, go ahead.
No. It's just fanboying again.
So what's the plan for you as far as you said you want it to be more of a different roles, right? Instead of just being and doing evil. Do you have any other plans? Like, do you have anything scheduled or coming up for the next year? Do you have any plans for that, or is it something that you're still gonna try to do?
There were a couple of projects that were coming up, but again, it's just depending on when COVID happens and how we navigate through that. There's definitely a couple of projects that I'm really excited about that were supposed to come out this year that haven't, that are now going to come out next year. But there's also a couple of projects that I'm up for right now that are going to be fun. And they're not big films, but they're great characters for me to play in film and television. So I'm excited for those to not be beating people up or hurting anyone, because I've done that for 21 years. It's time to make a change.
Right.
I'm not saying I won't do it again, but because I love working and I love, meeting new people to play with and hang out with. And so I won't say no. It's just, I only say no when I've got projects overlapping. So, because I can't do every show, and sometimes they go longer and shorter and overlap. So
When's the last time you've played D&D?
Dude, literally 25 years ago.
Oh man.
Oh man, that's a long
Dude,
time.
well, as soon as I left New Zealand, I was just like, I got to focus on my craft, focus on acting and stunts, focus. And now I know a lot of guys like big who play D&D in the world.
I know Vin Diesel plays, doesn't he?
Who?
Vin Diesel?
Oh, yeah. I never met him, but I heard he plays. My buddy, David Baxter, he plays with some people, with Joe Manganiello. They play D&D, and I haven't really got back into it yet, but I used to be a Trekkie fan, and I had the badge and the shirt, dude. And I used to play D&D, but the D&D I used to play was in the book.
Yeah.
There was no board games. It was just in the book. Turn to page 84, collect your thing, and then turn back to page 833 and find a wizard. And like, that was the D&D that I was playing back in the day. So yeah, it's been a long time, but
what was it like growing up in New Zealand though?
It's New Zealand was considered America in the 40s. Not that many people around, everyone's spread out, everyone's doors are open, the cars are unlocked. If you want to come and stay at my house, sleep in my bed, I'll sleep in the living room. Like, it's very, like, it's an open house type of feeling, and everyone's, there's a lot of typical things that happen in every country, but it's a country with only 4 million people. And just like in America, the ethnic cultures here are African American, Latino, and European, as well as the Irish and that. But in New Zealand, it's European and Polynesian. So, but the film industry in New Zealand, there's a small number of Polynesians that get all the roles, just like it is a little bit here, but it's just more projects here. Mm. So it was good, but it was just hard to get in. That's why my producer friend, Mark Odeski, was like, you need to come to America, because there's not that many people like you here. I mean, they're here, but they just don't come out. So you might stand out more. And because I played everything from Latino, Cuban, Colombian, Black, African American, most ethnic cultures except for my own, Samoan, because they when they look at me, they're like, "You're Samoan?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh," because they're looking for the 400-pound Samoan, right? And I'm like, "We don't all look like that, dude. Stereotypical, but I get it. But we don't all look like that." So, but it gave me the opportunity to play all these other characters and villains in films and build a career that I could make the change and choose certain roles that I would want to play in the future. But growing up in New Zealand was awesome, but it was time for me to spread my wings and learn more from just New Zealand. So
have you thought about going back?
That's what.
To work, since you have more experience, and now you're, it's been a while, and you have more, more in your resume than you had back then. Have you thought about going back to work there?
Yeah, I mean, because there's nothing going on here, I was even thinking about going back to try and work with the guys on Avatar. But I just got a call from a friend of mine, a New Zealander who's out in the islands here working on a project, and said that that could be coming up soon. So if that doesn't happen, then maybe I will try and get a hold of the Kiwi guys and maybe try and get on some on Avatar over there. And while there, see my family. So that'll be fun. If you know, if that works out. So yeah, I'd love to go back and work there again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So so you worked on so many big Hollywood films. What do you think the comparison when it comes to indie films? Like where when you see when you're working both as far as fight scenes, as far as time that you take to prepare for fights in the films themselves, what are the comparisons between the two?
Well, indie films, you know, there's just you have more control over creativity because there's not governing bodies like studios or investors to keep the project on a certain trajectory, right? So it's just bigger budget, you know, a little bit more less control of it because the studios are saying we need to shoot this. This needs to be done like this. But with independent films, you can have a bunch of creators on set that can go, well, you know what, let's change that, or it doesn't work that way. And sometimes that happens in film as well, but it only comes from the studio. And with independent films, you don't have big studios telling you what to do because it's not a big budget. And that's why when doing fights and stuff, you have a little bit more leeway of changing stuff and making it work if it doesn't work in the scene. And making sure we can go back and do certain reshoots to change that. And it's just in smaller films, you have less rehearsal times. But with indie films, you know, you can just rehearse and not get paid for it, all for the sake of the project. You know, just making sure that it's not about getting paid with these smaller projects. It's about creating a cool project so that everyone that's working on it can be proud of. And this right. It works the same with big films, but it's just more governed by bigger entities like financiers and studios that give them money to produce the films and make them work. But I like working on smaller films because you kind of have more creativity towards it.
Yeah, I think when I talk to a lot of artists, a lot of actors and filmmakers, and you know it, and everything as far as that goes, they all prefer working on indie films. In comparison, not in a financial standpoint, but from a creative standpoint, where it gives you more opportunities to try to be yourself in a way and try to come up with creative ways to actually get things done.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely correct. Because, you know, when it's not about $100 million, you can just go, you know what, let's change it. Be like, okay, yeah, whatever you think will make it work, you know. And you can completely change it and be like, you know what? It doesn't matter if some people don't like it. As long as we like it, that's all that matters, you know? Because we don't have someone telling you, no, it has to be, he has to die here, or he has to end up fighting a person here. I'm like, no, we can change it to later because we can just have it build up to that, and we can adjust how we want the film to work by not having someone say, no, it has to be done like this. And be like, you know what? No one's getting paid, so we can do whatever we want. You know, or you're just doing it for the sake of, like, again, sometimes you won't get to play the characters that you play on your short films because certain people either don't believe in you, or certain people don't want to give you the chance, you know. But with short films or independent projects, you can just make your own, you know, and work with other people who wanna help you grow as these characters, or, you know, or whatever characters you want to play, and whatever dialogue you want to say. So yeah.
Have any questions, Mike? Any comments?
I'm interested about your passion for photography. Are you an avid shooter, or is Is that something you picked up at some point?
I just from working on so many projects, I'm like, you know what? I need to get a camera and I need to shoot my own stuff. But at the moment, I've got my camera here with me, but I'm just focusing on right now on masterclass, learning how to story, structure, and write, so that I can write some cool projects with dialogue that I like and stuff that I can be proud of and stuff that certain people wouldn't give me the chance to do. So that's where I'm at. I have a Sony A7S and I got some sound equipment and some lights, so that I can just fail a few times until I figure it out, just try and do something with some friends, whoever wants to play and grow. Well, let's give it a try. There's no wrong way. It's just shoot something, and if we don't like it, we'll try something different the next time. So that's where I'm at during these times. I'm either shooting, working on short films, or learning how to do my own at the moment with the story structure and writing side of things. So that's what I've been keeping myself busy on, masterclass and trying to learn the craft constantly.
That's cool, man.
Which master class are you taking?
Dude, I've taken Helen Mirren's acting one, which is really great. I'm on Alan Sorkin's writing and story. I've started like 5 or 6 of the different ones. Spike Lee's directing, because I like to see how he writes and his the way he puts his films together and how he writes his stories. And so those are the ones that I'm kind of looking at and doing classes on, because I like to get different people's perspectives on how they write. And because you might listen to a masterclass and be like, oh, I don't really feel, some of it I like, and some of it I'm like, oh, okay, cool, well, I'll go see what this guy says and be like, oh, I like that, or this, or see what she says, and that might agree with me more. I'm like, oh, cool, okay. So I'll take pieces of what, and I'll just write my notes down on what I feel can help me, because I've worked with like a lot of the biggest directors, writers, and storytellers and actors over the last 21 years. So I've got a lot of experience from that, but I need to put it into work by doing my own stuff and just shooting with my own camera and failing while learning at the same time. So that's where I'm at right now. and it's fun. So yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you. So I appreciate you stopping by, man, talking to us. That's
of course.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Stay safe out there, man. I don't know how. I don't know what California is like right now. I know they were banned a couple weeks ago. And then they're shutting down a lot of things, haven't they?
Yeah, they just started shutting down certain places that don't have the restaurants. The only restaurants that are staying open are the ones that have outdoor patios, because you can social distance in there, in outdoor areas. But they've closed down some beaches, but again, it's just, now the masks are mandatory and you get a fine of $100 or whatever it is at the moment. So it's been difficult. So I don't know when big productions are going to start up, but I'm going to keep moving with my stuff and keep learning and trying to figure out ways to stay creative while shooting my own stuff. That
would be cool.
Yeah, it's fun and scary and interesting at the same time.
Yeah, I have an idea where I don't know how we can make this work, but I have an idea of doing like a film using Zoom. I don't know how it could be done, but it'd be something that'd be interesting to try to pitch something like that, like just between a few filmmakers or whatever, just to see what story can we tell using Zoom.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's the new way forward. So without
it'd be fun to do something like that.
Yeah, and you know, I guess it would all be in editing, but if you have people in certain different states, you know, you could definitely do the old, you know, what did you do today, and then just kind of go off of whatever the storyline is. And
here's the storyline off the cuff. What if so it'd be like a Saw style of horror where people are stuck in these rooms. They have no idea how to get out of it, and the only thing they have is like a screen. They can see the other person. It's like in a Zoom call, basically, and it's like a puzzle sort of thing where they have to figure out how to get out of the room, but the only way to do that is to work together.
Cool.
And there's clues in each room, and they have to figure out how to, you know, and then you can work out what the puzzles would be and, you know, what happened. And they'll be kind of tense. I can see that being a little bit tense. In a way.
Yeah. Sounds interesting. Definitely let me know on what you end up doing it, and then maybe I'll join you. Or
actually, I'm now that I just said it out loud, it sounds like an actual. I need to copyright this thing.
Sounds like a concept that you need to start writing and putting it together, and we can all do something together.
All right. Well, I'll try to do something with it. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be kind of cool to actually to see what we can do with it.
Hell yeah!
Actually be creative with it.
I'm down. I'm always down to do something fun. But yeah, hey, send me the links and stuff for your podcast once you
I'll do that. Are you on Instagram and Facebook and stuff?
Instagram and Facebook under Sala Baker.
All right, I'll find you there.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. I'll send you the links and everything, and it'll be available on audio too, like on Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff too. So
awesome, because then I can find it, and then I haven't been on social media for a while, but I'm going to start up soon again and just start showing all these cool podcasts and stuff that I've been doing too. So it'll be fun.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'll definitely hit you up about the idea of the horror film. Once I have some kind of a synopsis or something, or some ideas about it, I'll let you know. But it should be fun.
Cool, brother. I appreciate it, man. Again, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
These are always fun, and we'll definitely talk soon.
Absolutely, man. Thank you.
All right, man.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk soon.
See you, man.
All right.